Reasons. First of all, of course, it's a bank and they want to look profitable. The second reason, though, is that gold is actually an excellent insulator. So it's said that all of the money they spent to have the windows installed has been recovered through their heating and cooling bills. So if you guys are doing home renovations, maybe gold windows, test it out. Alright, so I just have a question for you guys, and you can yell the answer nice and loud. Does anyone know what Canada's national sport is? Lacrosse? I heard lacrosse a couple times, and hockey, and actually they're both right. It used to be just lacrosse, but since 1994, hockey has also been one of Canada's national sports, so everybody gets a half point depending on which one you chose. And out to the left side, we have Toronto's Hockey Hall of Fame. There's about 57,000 square feet of hockey memorabilia inside, and they have some simulated games, so you can test out your slap shot or try defending against some of Canada's top players. This is also the permanent home to the Stanley Cup and Sidney Crosby's Olympic gold medal. And for anyone who's not familiar with Sidney Crosby, he's one of Canada's best-known Olympic team hockey players. Alright, so we've turned on to Yonge Street now. Does anyone know why Yonge Street is famous? Longest? That's right, I heard it. Yonge Street used to be the longest street in the entire world. It used to stretch about 2,000 kilometers long, but today it's only recorded as 100 kilometers because Yonge Street changes names north of Toronto. However, the physical street is still the longest. And just to give you an idea, I thought maybe you'd like to see everything on Yonge Street. You can take a taxi ride from one end to the other, and that trip would cost you $3,800. So if you guys want to splurge on that, you go ahead. Personally, I'm going to stick to the Hippo Bus. It's a much cooler way to see Yonge Street anyway. So Yonge Street here is also the dividing line of Toronto. Any streets that cross Yonge will be divided east and west, and all of the numbers count down towards Yonge Street. So here at the corner of Yonge and King, on the left is 1 King Street West, and on the right is 1 King Street East. So you guys may have noticed that Toronto is a fairly busy city. We also, though, have a very busy underground city, which is called The Path. And The Path is the world's largest underground city. It connects about 50 different office buildings, and over 1,200 shops and services operate below ground. So just ahead to the left on the pillar, under the number 110, is the word path written down. Also on one of the columns on the right, a little closer to the corner. So any place that you see this path marking, you know you can access the path through this building. You just have to go inside and down one level, and you'll be in the path. It's very easy to find. It's also very easy to get lost, though, because the path is not set up on a grid system like the rest of Toronto. So if you just want to lose your friends for a couple hours, you can go for a jog in the path, no problem. But if you are looking for anything in particular, you need to watch for the different maps and markings available below ground. Just a little tidbit on that. You may have noticed the word path was written in 4 different colors, and each one of those represents a different direction of travel. So if you take blue, for example, that's the color for cold, and the farther north you go, the colder it gets. So anywhere you see path marked in blue, you know you're heading north. Across to the left is the Bay. The Bay was originally known as the Hudson's Bay Company, and it is the oldest company in North America. It was established in 1670, so it's actually almost 200 years older than Canada as a country. So the Hudson's Bay Company used to be a series of fur trading outposts that stretched across the area that's Canada today, and because of that they are responsible for much of the original mapping of Canada. Today though, the Hudson's Bay Company is simply known as the Bay. It's a large department store now, and they don't sell fur here anymore, and it's actually not even owned by Canadians, so they have gone through a few changes. This particular location, though, was remodeled at one time to look like Madison Square Gardens for the filming of Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe and Renee Zellweger. So there's a Hollywood tidbit in case anyone's interested. Back to the right are the Elgin and Winter Garden theaters behind all the construction here. Oh, the construction's gone. Never mind. The Elgin and Winter Garden theaters. And those are actually the last functioning two-story theaters in the world. So there are two separate stage levels. You might recognize those theaters from the final scenes of the film Chicago with Renee Zellweger and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Inside, so it's pretty cool. But the Eaton Centre here is nothing to scoff at. There's 4 or 5 different levels of shopping, and the higher you go, so do the prices. So I tend to stick to the basement myself, but there are plenty of nice shops and restaurants inside. Just out to the left is one of those. It's Roots Canada, for anyone who's not familiar. Roots is a Canadian clothing company. Now, not all of the clothes are made in Canada today, but all of the leather products are Canadian made. So if you're looking for a souvenir before you head home, you might try Roots Canada for that. Just up ahead on the right is the Cannon Theatre, which is another of Toronto's great theatres. However, you may notice something slightly different about the Cannon. It does have a very small entranceway. And there is a reason for this. It's that here on Yonge Street we have Toronto's highest storefront tax. So that means the larger the storefront, the higher the taxes they have to pay. So the Cannon Theatre, like many other shops along here, will have quite small entranceways, but once you go inside you'll notice that it opens to be quite large. And they're also very well known for their wine collection. They have a 2-story wine cellar here, and their entire collection is valued between $5 and $6 million. So here on Elm Street we have some Mediterranean food. There are 2 computerized and electronic systems. Towards the next traffic lights on the left side, there's kind of a dusty red colored building.